Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm Melissa and I love gardening and I love learning about gardening. So here we are with this new type of video on my channel. I think it would be so cool to eventually do a video of some of y'all's cool gardening techniques. So if you would like to share some with me to use in a video, I will put my email in the description box. But for now, I will just be researching some cool gardening techniques and sharing them with y'all in some videos. So today we're going to be talking about the three sisters. Have you ever heard of this before? So let me know down in the comments if you've heard of it or not, or maybe if you've actually given it a try before. I learned about the three sisters companion planting technique back when I first started gardening in 2022, but have yet to give it a try. Add that to my long garden list that I want to eventually get to. Basically, the Three Sisters planting method is a traditional indigenous planting practice where you plant corn, beans, and squash all together, and they make three sisters, kind of like my three little girls who are all sisters, and they all benefit each other in some way. So I typed up a little bit of a history about the three sisters because I think it's pretty interesting and it's important to remember where it came from. So the three sisters is widely known to be practiced by the Iroquois people, specifically the Seneca Nation in North America. Archaeologists have also found that it was used since 1070 AD. About 500 years before Europeans documented it when they came to the Americas. The Iroquois people have many beliefs and cultural aspects associated with the three sisters. Thought that was pretty interesting. So they believed that the spirits of these three plants were inseparable and that these sisters sustained them. This companion planting process continued to spread throughout North America, and there are still people that practice it today. Let's talk about the benefits that each sister brings. First, we have corn, and it's going to provide the support for the bean plant. And then beans are going to bring in the nitrogen and deposit it into the soil for the other two sisters. Squash is then going to crawl along the ground. It shades the ground, retains moisture, reduces weeds, and it can also provide a protection for the other plants from animals because it has spiky leaves. So one person in particular said that it has kept raccoons away from the corn. So I mentioned that the three sisters plants are corn, beans, and squash, but let's go into a little more detail. The corn needs to be a tall variety of corn so it will grow big and strong enough to support the bean plants. You can pick a variety of corn that grows well in your area, and you can use sweet corn, popcorn, flint corn, dent corn, any kind of corn. But it seems that to make it work really well, you need to plant a variety that gets at least 7 feet tall. The second sister, beans, needs to be a climbing variety, not bush. And in my research, it seems to be a good idea to get a bean variety that is a half runner. That way it grows to the same height as the corn or maybe a little bit less, and it won't pull down the corn or choke it out. So half runners seem to be anywhere between 3 and 10 feet tall. The third sister is squash, and this could be a summer squash or a winter squash. So I've grown sort of both. I've definitely grown summer squash before, and they get big and bushy, and the leaves are definitely prickly. And then winter squashes usually spread a lot farther. I have tried my hand at it, but I am going to plant pumpkins this year and plant them sooner, like in May, and hopefully they do a lot better than they did last year. But so you could pick a summer variety or a winter variety, and depending on the variety that you pick will be how many plants per mound or in between the mounds that you are going to plant. Or you could choose some of both. Really, you could do different varieties of beans and squash in your Three Sisters garden. I probably would not recommend growing a different variety of corn in your garden, I have done a little bit of research, and you don't want to mix different types of corn like sweet corn and popcorn or flint corn or whatever, because when they cross-pollinate, it could make your corn taste not really great. Maybe if some gardeners have experienced this, let me know down in the comments if this is actually true or if you can plant them. I think you can plant different ones. You just have to make sure they are far enough apart that when the wind blows, they are not going to pollinate each other. Setting it up can look a little bit different depending on what you want to do. You can definitely Google images of different ways to set up your Three Sisters garden. Here is one that I drew out based on the research that I did for what is usually done. So it seems like the most popular way to set it up is to create mounds that are 1 foot tall and 2 feet in diameter, and then 4 feet apart in the centers. You're gonna then plant 4 corn plants in each mound and wait until the corn is knee high. This is important because it needs to have a head start to grow big and strong for the beans. Then you plant 2 bean plants per corn plant. Don't forget to soak your bean seeds overnight to help them get all that moisture before planting. Then when the beans are 6 inches tall, plant 1 squash plant in between each mound. The amount and distance you plant the squash plants will depend on the varieties you're planting, like I mentioned before. Although I do think you could probably plant your squash plants at the same time as your beans. To me, I wouldn't see that would make a huge difference. In my experience planting corn, you will also need to plant enough of these mounds so that there is enough corn to pollinate each other from the wind. I think the rule of thumb is normally 4 rows. So I think for the Three Sisters method, a good amount would be at least 3 mounds on 1 row, and then you have 2 of those mounds, so 6 mounds altogether in kind of a rectangular shape. Definitely the more the merrier. The only challenges that I found in my research are really trying to figure out what varieties grow best in your area and what varieties grow best together, specifically with the corn and the beans. So you do need to make sure that the corn stalk is going to be big and strong enough to support the bean variety that you choose. You don't want to choose a bean variety that is going to grow too tall or actually have too much fruit, because if it has too much fruit, it's going to pull down the corn stalk as well. So I feel like during my research, if you go with the characteristics of the plants that I talked about before, of a big corn stalk that's at least 7 feet tall, and then a half runner bean variety, I think you should be good to go, but you probably will need to experiment a little bit in your own garden to see what is going to work best. This really needs to be part of my garden plan for next year. I did want to mention here at the end that there are some people that will substitute the Three Sisters and do different plants depending on what their family enjoys and eats the most of. So instead of corn, you could use sunflowers. Instead of beans, you could use peas. And instead of squash, you could try watermelon. The only thing that I would think in these substitutions is if you go with watermelon, their leaves are not prickly like squash leaves, so they may not keep animals away from your other plants if that is something that you have issues with in your garden. Okay, wow, this was such a fun video to research and to make for y'all. I really hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did, and please let me know down in the comments if you have tried this, heard of it, or if this is completely new for you. And for sure, if you have a cool gardening technique that you would love to share in one of my videos, please email me and I will put that in the description box below. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.